Welcome in or welcome back. As we're nearing to the NBA playoffs, I put out a post on all of my socials. Be sure you're following me there, asking for questions for my third installment of a Q&A video. So let's just jump into it. A lot of fellow creators chipped in on this one, so all of their links are going to be in the description below. Colin Hatfield, an amazing creator, great on TikTok, great on Instagram, starting to do long-form content on here on YouTube as well, so please go give him a follow. He's going to start us off here asking, who are my top 3 in the WNBA draft? And I need to put a little precursor here. My big board is different than who I think is going to be drafted first. For instance, I think Olivia Miles is potentially a better player than AZ Fudd. However, because of positional need, I do have AZ Fudd going number 1. And then the next 2 were kind of interesting to me. Had Bridget Carleton stayed in Minnesota and not gotten selected in the expansion draft, my answer could have potentially been different, because truthfully, I would love to see what a pairing of Napheesa Collier and Awa Pham from the EuroLeague would do in this league. I think that would be super deadly. However, I think you need a very steady-handed guard to lead you into the next era of Minnesota Lynx basketball. So I have Olivia Miles going number 2. Assuming that everybody comes back from last year's roster, they have a lot of very talented guards on their hand. Courtney Williams, Natisha Heidemann, Dejanay Carrington, Caleb McBride, they're all very talented. However, I think Olivia Miles is going to be very special in this league and very good for a long time. Will she play a lot her first year? Probably not. But getting the reps in early, getting someone that good when you can, is ultra important for the legacy and the lifespan of a franchise. So then that leads us to number 3, and I have Awa Pham going to the Seattle Storm, and I would love to see a defensive rotation of Ezi Magbagor, Dominique Malonga, and Awa Pham. It would wreak havoc on the league. All of them have a ton of size, great defensively, a ton of skill. That would be a very big problem for them for a very long time. The best basketball trainer you know, Jackson Borman over on Instagram, asked, what is my favorite storyline from college basketball this year? And it's really hard to say anything else other than Miami of Ohio. I don't care that they lost in the MAC tournament. I don't care that they lost in the NCAA tournament. They proved that winning is difficult. There have only been 3 other teams since the year 2000 that have had an undefeated regular season, and all of them had to work to get there. And I think that I like it so much because it's going to be a lightning in a bottle effect. We're not going to see this happen next year with this team. It's just not going to happen. There are very few moments like that in college basketball, so when you have an opportunity to watch it, you need to enjoy it, and I certainly did. Eamon Cassels, someone who's been on my program here, I've been on his show a couple of times, also a great journalist, asked me how would I rank these guards as prospects. And shameless plug, I am now a contributor for SB Nation's Salt Lake City Dunk website. I wrote an entire article about how much I believe in Darius Acuff, so suffice it to say, he's number 1 in this list. Does he have defensive shortcomings? He sure does, but you can't sit there and tell me that there haven't been other guards in the NBA's history that have been traffic cones on defense and been so fantastic on offense that it overshadows everything else. Statistically, he has had the greatest season that any Coach Cal guard has ever had. Do you not have any idea how insane that is? I truly do think that he's going to be a superstar in this league. As long as you surround him with the defensive tools that he needs, he's going to be perfectly fine. I don't see the upside nearly as much in these other guys as I do Darius Acuff, so everything else is going to be viewed from a floor perspective. The worst you could possibly be. In other words, the safest option. And I think the safest option out of all of this list here is Keaton Wagler. He's 6'6", great wingspan, good defensive instincts, and he has a really great game feel. And then my next pick is Braden Burries. He wasn't the entire reason that Arizona was as good as they were this year. He's a big reason, though. He's got decent size. He's a 3-level scorer. He's got a great processor up here, so I don't see a scenario where he doesn't succeed in the NBA. Do I think he's going to be an MVP candidate? Probably not, but I know that he's going to be employed by an NBA team for a long time. Next, we have Mikal Brown, and I wish that we got an NCAA tournament moment for him because I think that he could have very easily scored 40 on that team. I don't necessarily think he does anything else so exceptionally well that we need to talk about it, but he can put the ball in the hoop. Next, we have Kingston Flemings, and I also wrote about him on SB Nation. I just don't believe in him as much, although I would love to. Much like Mikal Brown, he can put the ball in the hoop with the best of them. However, he has these incredible games where he scores 30, 40 points, whatever the case is. He also has games where he scores in single digits, and that is just not going to cut it in the NBA. The consistency with him has been my biggest flaw for him this entire year, and I've got to see him play in Houston a lot. So I'm worried if that'll transfer over, if he's going to be a very inconsistent player. I hope that he isn't, but because of that, he's going to be pretty low on this list. Now, I do want to say that I love this entire class here. This is probably one of the best guard classes we've had in a very long time, but for me, there is one superstar and everybody else. The homie Nate asks, when do I predict that WVU will win the Big 12 tournament? And I have a couple answers for you. The super fan in me, the guy who's been rooting for this team for over 20 years, when does he decide that WVU is going to win the Big 12 tournament? The second the season tips off. The guy who's been begging to get out of the Big 12 because we keep getting our ass handed to us, when does he think we're going to get into the Big 12 tournament and win it? Never. And then the third guy who tries to take a little bit from each camp, when does he think we're going to win the Big 12 tournament? Best case scenario, assuming that we can keep Amir Jenkins and DJ Thomas and we see what Miles Sadler can do, 2028. I think that Coach Ross Hodge has done a really good job of recruiting. He has been able to do it on the fly as well. I love Amir Jenkins and DJ Thomas. I think they had really great freshman years. I think that Miles Sadler is going to be great for us next year. So we're building something really important and really special in Morgantown. So again, assuming that we can keep all of them together and all of them progress the way that I think they're going to, 2 years from now, Zach, aka the Triumphant Microphone, also on Instagram, has also been on my show and is working on so many projects that I can't even list them all. Just go look into the description, ask who is the player that would benefit the most from a year in the NBL. For those unaware, the NBL is the highest level of basketball in Australia, and a lot of players have gone through that league. LaMelo Ball played there once upon a time. JaVale McGee is playing there currently and killing it. Most notably, former NBA player, Spurs legend Bryce Cotton, has become the absolute GOAT over there with 6 MVPs and 3 championships. And I don't want to reduce his basketball role to just this, because he is in fact much more than this, but he's just a smaller guard that can put the ball in the hoop. So I'm going to cheat your question a little bit here, because you said current NBA players and he is currently not on the roster. But I think Cam Thomas needs to go to Australia. The NBL and the EuroLeague both love smaller guards like that, and I think that if you just give him the opportunity to go hoop, he either realizes how much he misses the NBA and realizes he needs to buy into a role rather than being the hub of an offense, or he becomes so good in Australia that he just becomes a legend down there, much like Bryce Cotton. Not all basketball players are meant to be NBA players. Sometimes basketball players thrive in different environments and different systems, and I think Cam Thomas can be one of those guys. Next, we have Brennan Sims over on Twitter, super talented writer. Please go give him a follow. He asks, what is your least favorite archetype in the league and your favorite player in that archetype? First of all, love the question. Probably my favorite question in this entire bunch. It's a little complicated for me, though, because I think the real answer is a power forward who doesn't have the ability to stretch the floor and is really only a defensive threat. And there's only like 2 guys in the league that fit that exact mold, and I like both of them. So the answer has to be stretch 5s. And it's not that I think that a stretch 5 isn't valuable, that I think that being able to stretch the floor, especially in today's NBA, isn't valuable, because it is. I'm just kind of over it in the sense of I have seen what the zenith of that position, what that archetype can be, and you can't get any higher than that. I mean, there was a time in the NBA when a center brought out a crossover, it would have exploded Twitter. In the mid-2000s, if we saw a center hit a 12-foot jump shot, we were in disbelief. But now we've reached a point in this game where it's so fluid and it's so skilled, everybody can do everything on the floor. So this novelty idea of a center being able to stretch the floor isn't this thing that should be glorified. It's just part of the job description now. So all of that being said, my favorite player in that archetype is 100%, without a doubt, not even close, Karl Anthony Towns. I'm fully aware of his shortcomings. I'm fully aware of his inability to play defense. You will never catch me hating on Karl Anthony Towns. I used to live in Lexington, Kentucky at one point, and during my time there, Karl Anthony Towns and Devin Booker played for Kentucky and almost went undefeated. I snuck into Rupp Arena multiple times to watch Karl Anthony Towns hoop, and I was never disappointed. I truly wanted the best for him in Minnesota, and especially after his mom passed away, I was always going to be a fan. So the answer has to be Karl Anthony Towns, and it's not really a competition. My buddy Riley over on Discord, join the Discord link in the description, asks, why are the Timberwolves going to win the NBA championship? It should be noted, Riley is a Timberwolves fan, but I don't think he's really that far off base. There's a more advanced science to this, but really when it comes down to it, you need to have a top 5 player in the NBA. Anthony Edwards is potentially one of those things given the day. You need a great defense. They definitely have that. And you need to get hot at the right time, which they definitely are. At the time of recording, they are 5th in defensive rating for their team. And when you have guys like Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert, and Anthony Edwards, who, let's not forget, is a defensive menace when he wants to be, it's pretty tough to beat. Anthony Edwards is also one of the most clutch players in the entire league, and when he's already been there, when he's already went to the Western Conference Finals, and he's had battles with guys like SGA and Jokic, I think that this is potentially his time to break through. I also wanted to mention that Ayo Dosunmu has been so good for this team that he really has been the catalyst for their great play over the last couple of weeks. So they have a top 5 player in the world in Anthony Edwards. They have a great defense all around, and they're getting hot at the right time. If it's going to be anybody outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, or the Boston Celtics, I think it could be the Timberwolves. And then my buddy Finn, who's a great journalist, has been on this channel before, is going to end us off here with 3 questions. He asked first, what are my top NBA draft prospects that are sleepers, potential two-way talents.com superstars in the future? And there's a couple. I think they're a little bit unconventional, though, because I do think that they had great college careers, but because of the way the NBA is trending, they're going to have to grind in the G League a little bit, and that's where they shine. I think Alex Caravan is a pretty good example of that. He's had a really great college career. At the time of recording, the championship game has not happened, but he has a chance to get another national championship under his belt, and even though he has a great motor and great basketball IQ, he doesn't exactly scream NBA player to me. He kind of reminds me of Drew Timme a little bit from those Gonzaga teams a couple years ago. Drew Timme, in fact, has been up and down in the G League. He has kind of made a name for himself on very bad teams like the Nets. So there's a chance that Alex Caravan could grind in the G League for a little bit and then end up on a contender. Because if you need him to score 30 a night, he's probably not going to be that guy. But if you needed him to be a glue guy for your championship rotation, I think he could do that. The next guy I have is Isaiah Evans out of Duke. And while, again, I think he's had a great college career, he had a great sophomore season, I think he's very good. I think that because of the way the NBA is, he's going to have to earn his stripes in the G League. I think that he can give immense shooting talent to any team that he lands on, but he's going to have to prove it. Because for whatever reason, we believe that Duke is a system rather than a bunch of superstars playing very well together. And for whatever reason, people think that Cam Boozer is just a system player. So Isaiah Evans is also kind of lumped into that category. Both of them are going to have to prove it. Cam Boozer, on the other hand, though, is going to be a top 3 pick, so he's not going to have to prove it in the G League. And then the last one's going to be Braden Smith out of Purdue, the all-time assist leader in NCAA history. Do I think that he needs to go to the G League to prove it, how good of a facilitator he is? Absolutely not. Do I think that he's going to have a TJ McConnell career? You bet your ass I do. I have been pounding that drum more than anybody else that I know. He just has 10-year NBA backup veteran written all over him. He'll probably never be a starter. He'll certainly never be an all-star. He'll never get any sort of awards like that unless we're talking about the second team all-rookie next year. But he is going to be so consistently good that he's going to have a decade-long plus career. Next, he asks me my 3 favorite college teams to watch this past year other than WVU, which I am a fan. And small plug, I did watch one game from each conference in college basketball called a Project Nomad. I'm going to link that entire Supercut video in the description below. But because I watched one game from each conference in college basketball, I got to watch a lot of very good basketball. And I'm a mid-major guy. I like mid-major hoops way more than I like Power 4, Power 5 schools, so all of my answers are going to come from mid-major conferences. Toward the end of the season, I watched Princeton take on Yale, and Yale is just so good. Nick Townsend is just a good basketball player. I wish that we got an opportunity to watch him have an extended career, watch him play more games in the NIT tournament, but he's still pretty good, and that Yale team is pretty good. There was a pretty good argument for them to make the NCAA tournament, but c'est la vie. At the end of January, I watched Akron take on Kent State in some action, and boy, is Akron talented. Really solid defensively, can shoot the lights out. I wish, again, that they got more burn in the NCAA tournament, but they're going to be pretty good next year too. But hands down, my favorite team to watch in this entire series was Liberty. They won the Conference USA Championship after I watched them. I don't think that's a coincidence. They play so fast, and they are so good defensively, and they can shoot the shit out of the ball. I loved watching them play because it honestly kind of reminds me of how the Celtics play basketball. And then lastly, he asked for some WNBA breakout star candidates, and I have a couple. Now again, we just had the WNBA expansion draft, and a couple days after posting this video, we're going to have the WNBA draft. So there was a ton of opportunity for players who didn't have the opportunity last year to show out this year. In the expansion draft, Marina Mabry just got selected to go to Toronto, and I think she has an opportunity to be just an absolute flamethrower for them. We saw how she played in Unrivaled last year. She has the all-time record for points in a game in Unrivaled history, so I think that there's an opportunity for her to take that sort of skill set, that let-it-fly attitude into the WNBA. And as a Connecticut Sun fan for the rest of this year until they move to Houston, I'm really excited for her. I'm going to go with my bias here and talk about another Connecticut Sun player because I think Sanaya Rivers is going to show the world how good defensively she is. And I know that in the WNBA, the Defensive Player of the Year award has been more heavily skewed toward the taller players. I think that Sanaya Rivers is so good defensively that she is going to run away with this award. Pesky on-ball defender, great in the passing lanes. She can block the shit out of everything. I think there's a very good chance that we're talking about at the end of the season, Sanaya Rivers averaging like somewhere between 3 and 4 steals a game. That's how good defensively she is. And then the last one I have here is again biased because she played for my favorite university, but I think that JJ Quinterly has an opportunity to show how good of a scorer she actually is. 3-level scorer, great handle, super crafty, super shifty, has zero problems putting the ball in the hoop. And if you know me and my fandom, you'll know how much of a compliment this is. She reminds me so much of Celtics Isaiah Thomas. Now, of course, she's playing behind Paige Becker. She's going to have a bench role, so that opportunity for her to show what she can do is going to be limited. But when she does get the opportunity, I think she's going to start turning some heads. But that's going to do it for me today. Really appreciate everybody who chipped in questions. A lot of creators, all their links are going to be in the description below. While you're down there, check my links. I have a link tree with all of my socials, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, here on YouTube, obviously. And I also have a Discord community that I would love for you to be a part of. But that's going to do it for me today. Be kind, tell somebody you love them, and we'll see you in the next one.
Barely scraping by, trying to stop puffing. I'm trying to be one of the greats.